Yes, the flood myth in the Epic of Gilgamesh is older than the account we find in Genesis. But this is something that the Hebrews did. You see, from my years of studying the scripture and mythology and world religions, I find that the Hebrew people often wrote a counter narrative. I've talked about this before when I've mentioned Genesis chapter 1, how they took the myth of Tiamat and they totally flipped it and reversed it. And I think that's what the Hebrew people are doing in the story of Noah. For one, they've done away with the entire council of deities and they've laid this all at the feet of their deity. And this is what we're seeing happen in the Epic of Gilgamesh versus the myth of the flood in the Old Testament. You see them combining all of them together. And that is what makes the story so much more interesting when you understand that it is trying to flip the narrative. For example, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the god Enlil, I believe that's how you say it, the god Enlil wants to destroy humanity because they're too noisy and he can't sleep. So you have the deity who is being very capricious, wanting humanity to be destroyed. And Ea, of course, goes and tells Utnapishtim, I believe that's how you say it. My pronunciations aren't that great. Being a southerner, we pronounce things in weird ways. But he goes and tells him, and he delivers his family from that. Now, in the story in the Hebrew scriptures, what you find is that narrative is kind of flipped. You see, it's not a capricious God that causes the flood because human beings are too loud. You have the deity of the Hebrew people causing the flood because humanity is not being righteous. And when we compare that story, what has spread across the world? When we look at the early chapters of Genesis, we see its violence. Humanity has become so violent, so cruel. Humanity is the one that is capricious. And the deity says, I'm going to destroy these people and I'm going to replace them with this Noah. Unfortunately, we see in the Noah story that Noah isn't that great a guy either. But the idea is the responsibility of the flood isn't on the gods, it's on humanity. We, as human beings, cause the pain and suffering, not the gods.